The Clone Wars Season 7 trailer is here, promising to finally wrap up the series after it was abruptly ended in 2014. And there are tons of connections to the movies, Rebels, the comics, and even The Mandalorian, which I am happy to break down for you here on Screen Crush. Hey there, I'm Ryan Airy. Darth Maul narrates the trailer, and his first words are,
"Soon, the galaxy will be remade."
I'm wondering if he's directly referring to the fall of the Jedi and the rise of the Empire. The question is, does Darth Maul know about Order 66, or did Darth Sidious keep his apprentice in the dark? It sure seems like he knows.
The Jedi and the Republic will die.
Well, if you remember, the last time we saw Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, he had just conquered Mandalore and united all of the galaxy's crime syndicates. But then Darth Sidious showed up to capture him. Years later, we saw him die in Star Wars Rebels and lead Crimson Dawn and Solo, but this season of Clone Wars shows us what happens in between. Somehow, Maul returns to Mandalore. Now, my theory is that Darth Sidious told him about Order 66 and then sent him back to the planet. Series creator Dave Filoni has said that this season will show us the Siege of Mandalore that was hinted at in the final episode of The Mandalorian.
The songs of the Siege of Mandalore, when gunships outfitted with similar ordnance laid waste to fields of Mandalorian recruits.
So what is the Siege of Mandalore? Well, from what we can tell from the trailer, it's basically Darth Maul and his crime syndicate control the planet, and the Republic invades in a protracted siege. This story's already been told, partially, in the young adult novel about Ashoka Tano, but that's only a small part of the book, and it looks like the series is going to flesh out that event. We see a Republic cruiser over Mandalore, followed by Bo-Katan overlooking the destroyed capital city. Now, if you're not familiar, Bo is a Mandalorian warrior who belonged to a violent extremist group called Death Watch. After Darth Maul took over Death Watch, she led a rebellion against him. And we know that following the Siege of Mandalore, the Empire briefly put her in charge of the planet. Moving on, there's this shot of the battle-hardened clones walking past new recruits, who they call Shinies because of their pristine helmets. I think this is from the Bad Batch arc. Now, if you're not familiar, the Bad Batch was one of the unfinished Clone Wars episodes. You could actually watch animatics of it on StarWars.com. The arc introduces a squad of reject clones called Clone Force 99. Unlike the others, they're not identical, but they're able to accomplish feats that the ordinary clones can't do. Several shots from this trailer are from this arc, including this fight between Anakin and the Separatist mastermind Admiral Trench. Trench was one of the Separatist greatest commanders, and he's died several times on the show. But it looks like Anakin finally puts him down for good here. And speaking of Anakin, notice that his hair is much longer, matching the length in Return of the Sith. This season is probably going to take place right before or even during Episode 3. In a military meeting, Mace Windu says,
"I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi."
just like he does in Revenge of the Sith.
I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi.
And later, Ahsoka will echo his words.
We were trained to be keepers of the peace.
Not soldiers.
In this meeting, there's a Jedi who looks a lot like Deepa Bulba. And if this is her, that would make this her Padawan, Caleb Dune, who will grow up to be Kanan Jarrus from Star Wars Rebels. Now, I think that's a neat way to tie the two series together. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. There's also a tender moment between Anakin and a hologram of Padme. That's interesting that she's clearly pregnant here, but Anakin doesn't find out she's with child until Revenge of the Sith.
Annie, I'm pregnant.
So either he's totally oblivious, which I can believe,
What?
or this takes place during Revenge of the Sith. Then we see Maul messing with Jesse's head. In the final season of Clone Wars, it was revealed that the clone troopers have a secret chip in their heads that's activated when Order 66 begins. So maybe Maul is manipulating Jesse to either scan this chip or to activate it prematurely. This could also be how he discovers the plot against the Jedi. Then we see Ahsoka on Coruscant, living the loner lifestyle after she left the Jedi Order in the last episode of Season 5. We see her on at least 3 different places in this trailer. There's Coruscant, Mandalore, and the Obadiah Moon. That's the headquarters of the Pike Crime Syndicate. Now, I think she's there because we saw her fighting Pike soldiers in the Star Wars Celebration footage from last year. She's probably on this moon because they have a connection with Darth Maul, and as we'll see in a second, her main thrust of this season is to face off against Darth Maul in Mandalore. Pike is also where she meets this character. She also has a cool Ripley mech suit in the background that we saw in action in the previous trailer.
Get away from her, you.
Then Ahsoka forms an alliance with Bo-Katan. She returns to the Republic to help them liberate Mandalore from Darth Maul. She's leading a company of clone troopers with orange helmets, painted to match her face. That's a pretty cool detail that shows the loyalty she inspired in the clones.
You got old.
Had to happen sometime, Rex.
Later, you can even see these troopers facing off directly against Darth Maul. We also check in with Captain Rex.
We clones have mixed feelings about the war. Without it, we wouldn't exist.
One of the best things about the Clone Wars series is how it humanized the clones.
I'm part of the most pivotal moment in the history of the Republic.
That turned Order 66 into a tragic event. The clones had their individuality stripped away from them, and they were forced to betray the Jedi. There's also several shots of Ahsoka working alongside Rex. We learned in Star Wars Rebels that Rex and a few other clones removed their Order 66 control chips.
I didn't betray my Jedi. Wolf, Gregor, and I all removed our control chips.
I'm going to assume those chips are removed before this season because, and this is huge, I think Order 66 takes place during the Siege of Mandalore. Rex is with Ahsoka in the skies above Mandalore here, and Maul's narration here
Every choice made
ends on Ahsoka holding Rex's hand. Now I think this is deliberately highlighting Rex's choice to not betray the Jedi. In this shot, she's ready for combat with Rex recovering beneath her. I think this is just after Order 66, and he was injured by his fellow clones. And this shot is of Ahsoka facing off against her former troopers, just before she and Rex escape the planet together. Oh, and speaking of connections to The Mandalorian, this soldier is a really cool connection to the TV show. That's your mom. And then there's the big moment, Ahsoka facing off against Darth Maul. Now I hope it's a cool fight, because we already know what happens. He leaves the planet, they both survive, and the Empire conquers Mandalore. Well guys, that's everything I noticed from the trailer. If you have any observations, please let me know in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.